I'm Paul,
I'm Steve.
and this is Check Your Shelf. This week, we're going to do a reading report. We'll do the April reading report. We have a lot of stuff that we want to cover, and we only really get together for this about once a week. So we'll probably do a monthly reading report. This happens to be the April reading report. It's the inaugural reading report. So hashtag reading report.
And what kind of episode is this? A reading?
This,
Is this a reading report? Okay, got it.
In case I haven't made it abundantly clear, this is a reading report.
Yeah.
Basically, reading report, you just cover what you've read that month or week or however long you space it out. I've got a couple books that I wanted to briefly touch on because one in particular we're going to be talking about later, like more in depth. And if you watched the last episode, you're already ahead of the game. Well, I have decided to take the plunge, and I am starting to read every episode of the SOBs until I get burned out on them. This is book 2, Plains of Fire. Basically, Iran has the bomb, and they're not afraid to use it. And the SOBs have to go in and make it look like an accident that they go off. This one was written by one guy. Now, the first book was written by 3 guys. And this one guy isn't quite as good a writer as all 3 of the others. He's a little more plain speak. Like he doesn't go as over the top with it as the other guys do. And while it's still a great book, and they really, really, really want you to hate the Iranian terrorists in this book.
It was 1983.
Yes, because it opens with a torture scene. Because one of the scientists that helped build the 3 or 4 dirty bombs they have is being tortured because he supposedly leaked information to the Great Satan. That's us. And sometimes I don't think they're wrong. So they're torturing him before they kill him. And it's like, woo, the stuff this guy goes through. But I'm about halfway through with it, and it follows the same formula. It has, the incident, the group gets together, the training, which is one thing I like about this series is there's always, at least in the first half a dozen or so, there's always like a training sequence because they have to get used to ready for the mission at hand. And one more cool thing about this book, and I will move on. But one of the awesome things about these is they used to put maps. Like
that's cool.
Yeah, this is the bunker that they have to infiltrate. And the beauty of that is like when you play like role-playing games and stuff where you're playing like mercenaries and stuff like that, you've already got a map for a game if you want to run it, So
yeah,
these come in really handy.
This is not a political show, let alone a political show that analyzes the 80s. But I know some people who like made it out of Iran after the revolution, and they too hold no affection for the terrorists. It was a brutal revolution.
Oh yeah,
and some really bad people ended up in power.
Yep.
But the world isn't good guys versus bad guys. It's usually bad guys versus worse guys, or equally bad guys fighting each other.
There were bad people on both sides.
Of course. And it shows you when you meddle in the affairs, because anybody who knows the history of Persia and Iran knows that the conditions for revolution weren't just internal.
Right.
It was like this geopolitical mess created by Cold War stuff. And
yeah. It's such a cobweb of mess. When I get done with this, though, I will do a more in-depth report on it. But like I said, I'm about halfway through it.
Speaking of more in-depth reports, and feel free to tell me no, but I thought something we're both reading currently is Frederick Forsyth's The Dogs of War. Now we're
The
both reading
cookbook
this.
for mercenary operations.
Yeah, here's your ASMR for the day. Oh, I lost my place. Now I
Oh
have to start
no.
over. No, I know where I am. I'm at the part where the dude's in a meeting with the head of the corporation that's going to mine the mountain.
Mhm.
I won't give any spoilers. We'll give plenty of spoilers next week, but so I know where I am. The
Mhm.
scientist is sitting in the meeting with the, and
Oh, yeah, I know where you are. You're a little bit further behind than I am. I'm on like chapter 13.
for those of you interested, there's this mountain discovered. It starts with somebody discovers, takes a bunch of samples from this mountain in the middle of Africa. It's like really remote Africa in a made up
Yeah.
country. And they discover that it's just full of platinum,
Yeah.
which is, really, really sought after metal, right?
In the SOBs, it was Kaluba.
Kaluba.
In Dogs of War, it's Zangara or something like that.
Yeah,
Yeah.
Zangara. Zangara. But the Zangaran government is friendly with the Russians. So the head
Hmm.
of this corporation is like, we're not telling anybody that was platinum, right, Mr. Scientist? Oh,
That's
by the
right.
way, here's a bunch of money.
Yeah. Looks like what it looks like aluminum and tin. No, there's no
Dude's like,
platinum involved.
scientist is like, I can't falsify reports. And he's like, how about if I give you a whole bunch of money for the next 10 years? And scientist is like, ooh, I'll have to think about that.
I love
Corporate,
how the dude just picks out the phone and is like, "Yeah, you're gonna be depositing like 240 pounds per week or whatever it was into so and so's bank account for the next 10 years."
yep.
Okay, I'll falsify the reports.
Yeah, the dude was like, maybe you should go talk to your wife about it. I bet she'll have an opinion.
Yes.
And so anyway, the guy's like, we got to pretend it's 10 until we are able to topple the current government, put in a government that's friendly to us, right?
Mm,
The British. And so he hires the mercenaries to do that, and wackiness ensues.
yeah. One of the things I love about this book. Now, this is the only Frederick Forsyth. I've read some short stories by him, but this is the only novel of his I've read. And I have a feeling he probably does this in all of his books, but the way he does like exposition dumps about the characters that they introduce,
Yeah,
sometimes I would say most times in most of the books I read, where a character walks in, the author feels the need to tell you their entire story, and you got to weed through that to get back. Where was I? This book does that with every single character, but you don't notice till it's over. Like, oh,
right.
I just like the guy in the beginning that was had been doing it his whole been doing the mining his whole life. You get his whole
Right.
story, and it's written in such a fascinating way that you don't realize it.
Makes me wonder sometimes, they always say show, don't tell. And so any writing workshop or class I ever took said, don't tell, show. And so I always take that to mean some action's got to be happening or
Hmm.
dialogue. And so to
Yeah.
reveal the character, action or dialogue has to be happening. And yet, some of my favorite books
Yeah.
do exactly what you just said. They
Yep.
tell. They don't show a lot.
Yeah.
And for some reason it works. And so maybe that's just like when they're teaching beginner writers or inexperienced writers, they're like, first learn how to show, then
Yeah.
you can tell if you get really good at it. you
Yeah.
know,
Yeah. First master Strunk and White, and then when you get that done, you can do whatever the hell you want.
learn the rules before you start breaking them.
Yep.
I'm going to do two at the same time.
Okay.
The one in these are two business books
Mm-hmm.
as far as I'm concerned right now. This one's called Death by Meeting by
Mm-hmm.
Patrick Lencioni. I never read this guy's books.
Mm-hmm.
One of his famous books is called The Five Dysfunctions of a Team. And
Yeah.
I've always heard people talk about how good it is, but I
Mm-hmm.
never read it because I hate the title. I'm like, I don't want to read about, give me a book called The Five Wonderful Traits of a Great Team. But now I realize the title was written that way on purpose, right? And
Mm-hmm.
and I read it and it was great. So now I got this one, Death by Meeting, which is basically a book on how to restructure your meetings so that people
Ah.
actually enjoy them, as opposed to
The
people hate meetings because meetings suck.
The original title for the working title for that book, probably this could have been an email.
Yes, exactly. And then this is The Art of
Mm.
War, Sun Tzu, which I talked
Mm-hmm.
about during our book haul.
Mm-hmm.
I'm reading this. I've read it, and now I'm rereading it. Because I've got some stuff going on at work, and there's a lot of business implications with this book. I listened to the audio version too. It was an hour and 10 minutes. So if
Yeah.
anybody wants to read it, you can kind of
Yeah.
see how it's structured.
Yeah.
You know, it's
Like
got pictures.
does the narrator go, and then there's a picture of a guy with a horse, and then you turn the page.
This is one of those books, I believe it's in the public domain. It was written in about, I believe about 400 or 500 BC.
Yeah. Oh, it's absolutely public
So I
domain.
believe it's in the public domain at this point. So anybody who wants to do their own version can do it. But yeah, I'm picking up a lot of good tips.
Isn't the Art of War the little red books that the Black Panthers were selling to finance their operations, and they had never actually even read it, but they got a whole bunch of them for free. So they were
Maybe.
passing them out and selling them, and that's how they were financing themselves to begin with. So one of them, you know what? We should probably read this.
Yeah, yeah. I think it's also a Denzel Washington movie.
Yeah, yes, it is.
The like you hear people quote it a lot. Like there's probably more people, like 7 times more people quote it than have read it.
Yeah. That seems to be a recurring theme when we talk about famous works.
True. Never fight unless you have to.
Yeah.
The best generals win without the enemy ever knowing that they were fighting. So in other words, you get what you want without having to do battle. That said, sometimes you have to do battle.
I mean, General Sherman just took that book and went.
Yeah.
This book here, John Bellairs' The Face in the Frost. Written in 1969. It was written before he became. He also wrote a lot of like young adult story, juvenile adventure stories. Like, I don't know if your kids ever were age bracket wise, if they saw A House with a Clock on Its Walls with Jack Black. He started writing books like that, and they took off. So he never wrote another book of this type after this. But this book here, basically, it covers. It's an interesting little book written in '69 about 2 wizards, Prospero and Roger Bacon, and they basically. I want to do an in-depth report on this because I read this book. I think I've read it maybe conservatively like 27 times. It's my comfort food. You can read it like in a couple of hours. You know, YouTube has a really good audio book version of it that I highly recommend. And it's this cool thing where Bellairs was an American author, and I think he was from Michigan, but he writes very, very British. So if you like like Hitchhiker's Guide and Monty Python kind of silliness, The Face in the Frost is great. It's a ghost story of sorts, and it's a mismatch of like it's this fantasy world, but yet they bring up stuff like baseball, you know, and so it's very quaint. I would like honestly. I would like one day to figure out how you, me, and Mark from Return of the Son of the Show could do a book report on it, because I think you would dig it a lot.
I know how we could do that.
Especially
the 3 of us could read it, and then we could do a book report on it.
Well, yeah, I meant schematically how we could arrange to have it done. But one of the aspects that I think you would just get an absolute kick out of is Prospero's mentor was a guy named Michael Scott. Now, I've read this book. I've read this book since the 90s when I found it in there's a bookstore in Chicago called The Stars Are Destination. We used to go there when we'd come visit you, and I found it there, and I've read it there. I've read it, like I said, about 27 times, but it was only in this century that the name Michael Scott makes me laugh every time they bring him up.
I guess I'm going to do 3. This one is A Day in the Life of Ivan Denisovich by Alexander Solzhenitsyn.
Mm-hmm.
And I talked about it during the book haul.
Mm-hmm.
And then, so it is exactly, I don't even need to tell you what it's about. Although, yeah, Ivan Denisovich is in a gulag.
Yeah.
And this is about a day in the life of Ivan Denisovich during World War II. The last 2 that I'm reading.
I found it.
Oh, you got it.
I sent you that picture from that antique shop.
Oh, right.
And this is the only authorized edition.
Oh.
Circa like 1956 or whenever this was published. But it was only $4, and I'm like, you know what, dude, you're coming home with me. So yeah, I haven't read it yet. It's in my TBR.
You're coming home with me. I like that. It's in your TBR. This is really, really good. I mean, and if you are into books about survival and surviving really rough circumstances.
Yeah, like I'll have to be in the right headspace for that.
Oh yeah, it's not a light read. It does make you appreciate soup. Like when you're eating a bowl of soup, you're like, oh, this is way better than what they had. Or oatmeal, if you're eating some oatmeal.
Oh man, I loathe oatmeal.
Well, you'd be lucky here because he doesn't like well, he kind of likes the oatmeal, I guess. Speaking of comfort reading, these last 2 are comfort reading for me. One is in the Kindle, so I don't have a picture of it, but it is Hitchhiker's Guide to the Galaxy, all 5 books in the trilogy.
It's right here for anybody that wants to know. Or it's over here or over here. Yes.
I have it in my Kindle, and when I go to bed at night, like I just read it.
Mm-hmm.
Sometimes I read something else, but usually a lot of times it's that.
Mm-hmm.
Just because it's like The Office, it's like Friends, it's like whatever you started binging during the pandemic.
Yes. Yes.
And it's an anxiety reducing exercise because I know how it turns out.
Mm-hmm.
And it's hilarious.
Mm-hmm.
So it's like old friends. It's like just hanging out with old friends, you know?
Yeah.
The other one's an audiobook. It's a series. The series is called Expeditionary Force. It's by Craig Allenson. And it's read by R.C. Bray. R.C. Bray read The Martian, which was turned into a blockbuster movie.
Yeah.
So in case you wondering who's R.C. Bray. And he's one of these guys that like he's really good at doing voices and stuff, right?
Oh, yeah. That's always good.
Yeah. So it starts out, the first book is called Columbus Day. And first of all, the reason Allenson wrote these books is and the reason he wrote Columbus Day is he said, you know, you got the trope of there's an alien invasion and some scrappy military dudes, you know, ex-military or current military on leave, you know, grab their weapons and like fight back the alien invasion, right? And save Earth. And he's like, that is such BS. Like how's that? That's totally unrealistic. You've got these aliens with the technology to come to Earth from distant stars, and you're going to be able to beat them with whatever technology we have here. And
did you not read War of the Worlds?
Well, it wasn't even our technology that beat them.
Exactly. We couldn't do anything about it.
Right. There was nothing at all, right, that you could do. And so he wrote this, and he's like, okay, you've got the plucky military guy, but there's really not much he can do. So Columbus Day is the aliens invade, and while they're invading, another group of aliens shows up, which is a rival alien to these aliens, and chases those aliens away. So Earth is like, oh, we're saved, right, by these new aliens that showed up. And it turns out that the new aliens that showed up aren't really the good guys. And they take a bunch of human military people, ship them off to another world somewhere to be like the peacekeeping, not peacekeeping, but like to evacuate the enemy off of this other world. So they're doing like, basically they have to go to this other world to get the other aliens off of that planet.
Yeah.
and then they find out that the other aliens enslaved Earth. So dude, the main character finds out that these other aliens aren't really the good guys. And he finds an ancient alien artificial intelligence that's shaped like a beer can. And it's a snarky asshole, but super powerful. And it helps get him off of this distant planet, helps him steal a starship, helps him get back to Earth to save Earth from these other bad aliens. And one of the things, so that's kind of the gist of the first book. And the way the series progresses, and one of the things I really like about it is it starts out as you find out that these two aliens that are at war with each other, they're not even top tier technology wise. They have a client, what do you call it in the mob? You got the client and then you've got the patron, right? So they're a patron species and their clients like a more advanced alien, right? And then that alien civilization has an even greater civilization that's in charge of them. So you've got like
way to escalate your plot.
You've got like 3 levels of alien. And at the very top, those are at war with each other. So it's like the Soviet Union and the United States. And then, you've got your next tier, which is like, I don't know, Europe and China or Iran or something, and then you've got your bottom, you've got your lower tier, which is like your third world countries, right? And yeah, every book escalates the plot because you're like, how are they going to beat this advanced civilization? And then they beat them. And then the next book is like, oh no, now they have to encounter an even more advanced civilization. And it keeps going like that until you find out that in ancient times, there was a supreme alien civilization that's not around anymore. But you find out that they might have to fight them because they're ascended into some other dimension and they might come back. And you're like, wow, did a good job. Now, I'm talking a lot about this one because it's comfort. I know how it turns out. There's a few things I don't like about it, but whatever. There's a bunch of stuff in the office I don't like, but I still sit there and watch it.
Okay, so now in the grand tradition of the 4 and 2 and 3 and 1, out of the books you've talked about, which one would you say is probably your favorite at the moment?
Oh my goodness. Probably The Art of War.
Yeah.
Because I never read it. And I'm like, I always heard about it. And I'm like, wow, this is way better than I thought it would be. So.
Well, I put Dogs of War. It is tied for first place. This is going to be a weird answer. It is tied for first place with me for my favorite book of all time. It's tied with War of the Worlds.
Oh wow!
But that having been said, The Face and the Frost.
Nice.
It's hugely influential on me, and it's so much fun. It's easy to find. There's a recent reprint of it that has an absolutely terrible cover, but it's super cheap if you want to pick that up. You can also pick this up for like next to nothing on eBay.
I'm gonna have to do that.
All right, well, that closes the cover on this episode. Hope you guys liked it. Let us know down below if you did. Like I said earlier, we'll do probably one of these a month. Next week, we're hoping to do Dogs of War. An in-depth review on it. Steve's going to spearhead that because he has some interesting perspectives on it. But that having been said, I'm Paul.
I'm Steve.
And the next time you're looking for something to read,
check your shelf. Just so you know, it's not 3, 2, 1. It's 4 and 3 and 2 and 1.
4 and 3 and 2 and 1. I'm Paul.
I'm Steve.
And this is Check Your Shelf.